Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham. A powerful winter storm system swept across the country this weekend, delivering snow and ice from the Midwest to New England. The dangerous winter mix killing at least 9 people, knocking out electricity, and canceling Christmas flights, leaving some stranded and others in the dark as the holiday approaches. Caitlin Burke reports.
From Maine to Michigan, hundreds of thousands of people are without power today, after what's being called the worst ice storm to hit the region since 1998.
Just the ice going against each other, it sounds like a train going by.
I need gas and I can't get into my gas tank. It's frozen. My car is completely frozen.
It could be days before all the power's restored, which means families are worried they could be spending Christmas in the dark. Many travelers are worried about making it home for Christmas at all. Hundreds of flights have been canceled and thousands delayed as the massive storm system works its way across the country. Some parts of the country are experiencing heavy rain instead of snow and ice. In Ohio, an entire retirement home had to be evacuated because of flooding. Firefighters rescuing residents by raft.
It had got up to my walk that leads into my door.
I grabbed my grandmother, her dog, and my great cousin.
Meanwhile, for much of the East Coast, the weather's making very different headlines. Highs reaching the 70s and 80s only 2 days before Christmas.
December, this time of year, you never get to have a short sleeve day, and we're out here enjoying it. It's just great, beautiful.
Doesn't feel like Christmas to a point, but it's great for the golfers.
But those warm temperatures won't stick around. Today, they're expected to plunge 20 to 40 degrees from the southwest up to the northeast. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
A federal judge granted almost 200 evangelical ministries relief from the Obamacare contraception mandate while their cases proceed through the courts. The ruling comes just before a January deadline that would have forced the ministries to violate their beliefs about the sanctity of life or face some crippling fines. The class action lawsuit includes religious organizations providing health benefits through the Southern Baptist Convention's Guidestone Financial Resources. The Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty represented Guidestone. Attorney Adele Keem says it is a huge win for religious liberty and will, quote, allow hundreds of Baptist ministries to continue preaching the gospel and serving the poor this Christmas without laboring under the threat of massive fines. Well, tonight is a key deadline to sign up for Obamacare, but the new year could bring a big case of sticker shock when that health care coverage begins. Counselors say many first-time buyers are choosing the cheapest policies, and they also come with the highest deductibles. And that means buyers are responsible for most of the initial cost of care. It's a significant problem even Democratic Senator Joe Manchin addressed this weekend in interviews.
At the end of the day, if it's so much more expensive than what we anticipated, and if the coverage is not as good as what we've had, you've got a complete meltdown at that time. So this transitional year gives you a chance to adjust the products to the market and to see if the market will absorb and buy the product.
Meanwhile, the administration has announced another last-minute attempt to fix Obamacare with a temporary hardship exemption. It would give people with plans that have been canceled under the law a chance to purchase basic catastrophic plans and avoid the law's tax penalties. Republicans say the fix is unworkable. I want to turn now to the ongoing Duck Dynasty controversy. Fan outrage forced a national restaurant chain to reverse its decision to pull some of the show's merchandise from its stores. Less than 48 hours after Cracker Barrel removed products featuring Duck Dynasty commander Phil Robertson, they're back up on the store shelves. Phone calls, email, and social media backlash from Cracker Barrel customers forced that reversal. The company released a statement saying, "We made the decision to remove and evaluate certain Duck Dynasty items. We offended many of our loyal customers. Our intent was to avoid offending, but that's just what we've done. You flat out told us we were wrong. We listened." The A&E network suspended Robertson after he called homosexuality a sin in an interview with GQ magazine. On Fox News Sunday, former Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee says a double standard is at work.
Well, because I think it's come to a point in our culture where political correctness has made it so that if you want to take a point of view that is traditional, that holds to steadfast, old-fashioned biblical Christian values, which are also, by the way, values of traditional Judaism and even Islam, then somehow you're supposed to just shut up and keep that to yourself. But if you want to advocate for same-sex marriage, we're supposed to be very tolerant. I'm tolerant of people who have a position on that issue that is contrary to mine, but I'm not tolerant of the intolerance.
The Robertson family says it cannot see going forward with the show without its patriarch. A federal judge in Utah is considering a request from the state to block gay weddings that have been taking place throughout the weekend. Friday, a district judge overturned Utah's ban on gay marriage, saying it violates gay couples' rights under the 14th Amendment. Gay couples flocked to a county clerk's office to get marriage licenses after the ruling. The decision has put Utah in the national spotlight because of its long-standing opposition to gay marriage. Lawyers for the state want the ruling put on hold as they appeal the decision. Well, nothing embodies the spirit of Christmas more than reaching out to those in need. A group of churches in Kentucky has found a way to help the homeless, and not just at Christmas time, but 52 weeks out of the year. Our Paul Strand has the story.
Many congregations realize they make no impact until they reach outside their own walls. Then when they take action, it usually turns into a competition. But what if a number of different churches decided to band together for the greater good? This may look just like a patch of grass in one of the poorer neighborhoods of Lexington, Kentucky, but pretty soon it's going to be a church, and a church that can exist only because 16 to 20 other churches all come together with a common purpose. That purpose is a pledge to help the homeless and other poor, hurting people. For 10 years, they've taken turns forming this temporary church by worshiping and performing acts of service in the inner city. Those acts range from free medical exams or advice to haircuts to boxes of donated clothes, all followed by a big feast so everyone leaves full both spiritually and physically. Charlie Younger has preached here for years.
God just pretty much put on my heart that it was important for me to give back just a portion of what he has so graciously given to me.
He relates to the hard times many of these folks go through.
I was homeless once. I lived in the front seat of my pickup truck for a while when I was inactive alcoholic. But that's been a while back. God brought me out of that.
Now he shows God can do the same for them. This is called Church Under the Bridge, which is sort of funny since there's no bridge in sight. It was actually named by one of the founders who saw a similar ministry in Austin, Texas that did take place among the homeless under a bridge. Michael Windhorn has served for 7 years and says Church Under the Bridge emanates a crucial message.
Christ's body and Christ's love really goes beyond just what happens between some church walls.
I just feel so blessed in my life to have what I have, and so just to be able to give back a little bit. It's good.
Kristen Ray makes sure her teenage children always take part.
It's funny because sometimes they don't really want to come, but then after they've been, they're like, oh, I'm so glad I've been.
She's gratified to see the changes in her kids, like the day her daughter gave away the earrings she was wearing.
This lady just fell in love with these earrings, and my daughter just took them off and gave it to her, and it was kind of a neat thing.
Eric Ogle knows what it's like to suffer from homelessness.
I got arrested the first time I got homeless in Oak did 6 months in jail.
But Church Under the Bridge transformed his life.
I've been going here about 7 years now, and then I changed as a person, spiritually.
He says many who come here have serious problems. Here they find a doctor or nurse to help them out, and other forms of aid and comfort.
Sometimes it's as small as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a roll of toilet paper. But, you know, any little bit helps and helps to lift their spirits.
And at least for a couple of hours, Lexington can witness churches act in unity to show a pure love. Jesus told us Christians to have unity and to show love. Well, maybe Lexington's Church Under the Bridge can be the bridge to show us how to get there. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Lexington, Kentucky.
Coming up, a Christmas surprise for an entire school. See what all this excitement is about when we come back. Gifts are a big part of celebrating Christmas, especially for children. But some of the kids you are about to see might not receive much of anything on Christmas morning. That is why they were overjoyed when they had a special visit from CBN's Orphans Promise the other day. Let's watch.
The excitement of Christmas filled the halls and classrooms of PB Young Elementary School in Norfolk, Virginia. The school, located in the heart of a public housing project, is one of the poorest schools in the state. Most here are likely to receive very little by way of Christmas presents. Many of the students here at PB Young Elementary walk to school, and during the colder months of the year, officials noticed a sharp decline in the number of kids in attendance. Elena Balthazar is the school principal.
It was freezing. We were standing at the front door, and I caught a few of my staff members saying, "Where is your coat? Where are your gloves? To button your coat up. Where is your coat?" But it was more so, where is your coat, more so than, button it up. And we were just in the office talking. We were like, our children need coats.
CBN's Orphans Promise heard about the problem and offered to help keep kids warm for the winter.
Orphans Promise is all about taking children who are at risk and moving them to thriving. And so we called and said, how can we come alongside of you and help you in what you're doing? And so the kids were cold and the weather was turning, and we said, how about jackets? What if we did jackets and scarves and hats and mittens? And so that became our mission.
The response was overwhelming.
We put out the call, and we had hundreds of jackets that came in from our people.
Students from pre-K through 5th grade received pizza, goodie bags filled with sweet treats, and the latest Superbook Christmas DVD.
And what better way to be Jesus with skin on than to come alongside of precious children who really are just discovering who they are and to hear the message of God's love.
To their surprise, each student, nearly 500 in all, enjoyed a mystery gift in the form of a brand new coat. Students eagerly unwrapped their gifts and proudly modeled new jackets, scarves, hats, and gloves. Teachers were overjoyed.
Well, it's amazing. I couldn't believe the generosity.
I have never, ever heard of organizations doing it for the whole school. Not just for 1 or 2 children, not just for a kindergarten class, but from pre-K to 5th grade. It's awesome. An early Christmas today.
Orphans Promise and United Way of Southampton Roads teamed up for the coat outreach.
It's an exciting opportunity to bring these kids brand new coats with tags on them. A lot of these kids never see tags on clothing.
Parents say the coats couldn't have come at a better time.
It's great that someone can help us out, me being a single parent, remarkable.
Students were filled with awe and joy for the early Christmas gifts.
There's a lot of hollering and screaming and stuff. I didn't know that we was getting coats actually, but we did, and I love my new coat.
I absolutely adore it. I think Santa put it in CBN's mind that they should get some kids some coats, and I'm so thankful.
Principal Balthazar hopes this Christmas miracle serves as a teachable moment for her students.
I hope that a seed was planted today for children that had a need. When they realize when they grow up that others have needs, that they'll in turn reciprocate the blessing.
A blessing 3rd grader Robert Johnson is already willing to share.
I was thinking that when I get older, I get some coats to more people, like the CBN gate to the kids.
To find out how you can help Orphans Promise be a blessing to needy kids this holiday season, just go to our website, cbnnews.com. Up next, Mrs. Smith Goes to Washington will show you how a South Dakota snow queen became a leader on Capitol Hill. Violence in South Sudan is forcing the evacuation of Americans, including Christian workers. Franklin Graham Samaritan's Purse Ministry has removed more than 70 expatriate employees from the country. Samaritan's Purse has served the people and churches of the region since 1993, providing food, water, medical care, and nutritional programs to 500,000 people. More than 1,000 people in South Sudan have died in fighting between rival political tribal groups in recent weeks. The U.S. has pulled out nearly 400 U.S. officials and citizens working in the country. Well, she has been called the Sarah Palin of the Prairie, but South Dakota Congresswoman Kristi Noem has been making a name for herself in Washington, D.C., not just for her politics, but for her faith as well. David Brody has her fascinating story.
It's all native ground. It's never been broken.
Home on the range, the place where Kristi Noem feels total peace
an ordinary mom on her South Dakota farm. A world away from her Capitol Hill duties in Washington, D.C.
I am 100% convinced that God created me to be a mom, and that every other job that I have or duty that I have is just extra things that He's put on my plate.
Those extra things have kept her busy since her election to Congress in 2010. She's clearly a GOP up-and-comer and made big news from the beginning.
Representative-elect Kristi Noem is going to get the opportunity as a freshman to be part of the House GOP leadership. That is a huge honor, folks.
Now at the Republican leadership table, Noem communicates the party's message to all Americans.
The president claims to be leading us forward, but his policies have us stuck.
She also represents the large Tea Party contingent that surprised Washington with major wins in 2010.
It wasn't my job to sit at that table and only tell them what Kristi thought. It was my job to sit there and let them know what every other member of my class thought.
And as one of the few Republican females in Congress, she also takes the lead against the so-called GOP war on women storyline.
We've got to be willing to be brave enough to get out there on the airwaves and push back on it.
Noem knows a thing or two about pushing back and taking charge. Life as a simple farm girl meant hard work, attending rodeos, and singing at church. She gave her young life to the Lord at Bible school. And then, while in college, she received heartbreaking news. Her father died in a tragic farming accident.
When he passed away, my whole life changed.
She felt lost, no longer able to go to her dad.
I remember laying in bed that night, not even knowing how we were going to do tomorrow. Because if we had a problem in our lives, if we didn't know what to do, Dad always knew. I sat up for several nights. I didn't sleep for about a week. And just read my Bible.
And this woman of the prairie got tough, left college early, and came home to run the family farm. Ironically, her first crisis came in the form of an estate tax bill from the IRS for thousands of dollars.
That was one of the things that got me interested in government and policy, was seeing that we had our family operation almost destroyed because of bad tax policy.
So after attending to the family farm, she entered local South Dakota politics and graduated to Washington, where she's currently working on a crucial farm bill.
I rise today to talk about the importance of getting a farm bill done this year.
Even though Kristi, the congresswoman, pushes for conservative policy, as a believer in Jesus Christ, she's got something even bigger on her mind.
God kind of taught me a lesson through the several months that I was there right away, that, you know, He placed me there, yes, to work on policy, but maybe my biggest job was going to be to minister to individuals.
Noem says she spends her time not just trying to change minds on policy, but trying to change hearts as an effective witness in a city with desperate needs.
And the way that He's going to fix this country may be by changing people's hearts and getting them more geared towards Him. And that's the quickest way we're going to get stuff done.
God did business with her, too, softening her heart toward President Obama, specifically during one of his State of the Union addresses.
I felt my heart get hardened. I felt God really convicted me. The way that I was praying, or the way that I was feeling, wasn't accurate, that what I needed to be doing more was praying for the president. My whole perspective changed, and I felt a real conviction lay heavy on my shoulders about the way I was praying, and that God couldn't possibly use me until I started to pray how He had called me to pray.
There's no doubt God always had a plan for Noem's life, even in high school.
The South Dakota Snow Queen.
Oh my goodness, you brought that up.
Well, look, there's a thing called the internet, and I do research.
You got that? Oh my goodness, yes, the South Dakota Snow Queen. In my defense, in high school, every girl in high school did the Snow Queen event. But boy, what a good training ground for giving speeches about the wonderful things in South Dakota.
And how about one more wonderful blessing? Remember how she had to leave college early after her dad died? Well, last year, as a sitting congresswoman, she finally got her degree after her sister insisted.
She just said, you know, I'm surprised you never finished your college degree, because you never quit anything.
It's no wonder that her steadfast determination and strong conservative backbone have people comparing her to Sarah Palin.
I think Sarah and I probably would get along if we ever got the chance to meet each other. But I do think that I just want to be Kristi, because if there's any other agenda there, I don't think that God will be able to use me how He wants to.
God is certainly using her in D.C. and also back at the farm.
That we would all go and be Jesus to everyone that we meet. We love you and we praise you and we thank you. In your name, amen.
Amen. David Brody, CBN News, Castlewood, South Dakota.
Nativity displays can be seen around the world. No matter the shape, size, or form, they feature the Christmas basics: wise men, shepherds, Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus in a manger. But how accurate is this depiction? Wendy Griffith talked to author Ace Collins to find out.
Ace, I just love nativity scenes, and this one in front of us reminds me so much of the one that we had in my house growing up as a child. When did people start displaying nativity scenes?
They probably started making carvings in the 3rd or 4th century, but the first nativity scene that we really look at as beginning what we look at today was started by Francis of Assisi about 8 centuries ago. He used them as teaching tools. As a matter of fact, he incorporated live animals and actors and even had songs. It was part of an hour or 2 hour long pageant, if you will, where he brought the manger scene to life for the very first time so people could really understand what happened on that first Christmas night.
Now, the night that Jesus was born, we know he was born in a manger. How accurate is a nativity scene like this one?
We honestly don't know. We know that there had to be animals because the city was full and people brought the animals in. They were probably inside the stable, not on the outside. We do know the shepherds arrived. One of the things that we also know is the Magi, the visitors from the east, the kings, did not come to the manger, even though we always see them. They came many, many months later and visited Mary and Joseph in their home and spent the night with them. So we know that most of the nativity scenes are not accurate, but I don't think that is as important as it is to realize that probably more than anything else, these little nativity scenes put the focus back on the reason for the season. And it really shows us that God came to us as a common man so that we could all relate to him.
And that is it for now for CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. Hope you'll join us again right here next time.